It was black and white, it was on TV.
The deerstalker cap and the pipe and the elementary, my dear Watson.
A deerstalker hat and an Inverness cape.
He became sort of the quintessential lofty toff. And what we've tried to do is take him back to what we believe to be his origin, which was essentially a more visceral character.
I kept coming back to the same thing, and it was just these particular garments. And one is the black cord jacket, which what I loved about that was it had a flavour of the 1970s rock bands. And the tartan coat also I seem to have seen on some Rolling Stones album.
We're actually going back and kind of staying truer to Conan Doyle's vision of Sherlock Holmes.
We've tried to essentially make him a more streetwise character, although he's quite lofty and tofty still. He's a guy that can manage to percolate all the different echelons of English society, which were tremendously complex.
See his walking stick, a rare African snakewood hiding a blade.
It's not an old school adaptation of the books. I don't think there's a deerstalker or a magnifying glass in sight.
In recreating Sherlock Holmes, you see that he was a martial artist, that he was even stranger than could be imagined. He had this variety of interests. Plays violin, plays piano, is just very adept at so many things.
He almost looks like a sort of Victorian Cambridge Don, you know? Old school, dishevelled, because his mind is so busy he hasn't got time to think about his appearance. To me, that makes much more sense.
London's so bleak this time of year. Not that I'm pining for New Jersey.
It's interesting in bringing a female character into a Sherlock Holmes story because Sherlock doesn't really have love interests per se, but there is one woman, and her name was Irene Adler.
She really runs the gamut of clothing. It's like, you know, these massive bustles to these, you know, lovely tailored tweed suits. You know, they're always a little bit flamboyant, yet she somehow slips under the radar.
Slightly awkward in one way because she's always in disguise and you shouldn't notice her, but that's an opportunity I couldn't quite miss, you know, was to give her really strong colour. And this woman she's totally different to the rest of London. The whole sense of that character and the incantation robes, they're a little bit heightened because they wore fairly plain sort of wizard's robe. I felt we could sort of fly a little bit.
The writers have come up with a wonderfully sort of arcane, evil counterpoint to Sherlock.
I found all sorts of ways to Blackwood that were, in essence, absolutely truthful to the Victorian period and just slightly off. So the coat's a leather coat, slightly Nazi-ish. Rather odd fabric for the waistcoat, looks a bit visceral.
What I wanted to bring and what I know Guy and Robert looked to me to bring was a yin, if you like, to his yang, you know what I mean?
For this character, although it's lovely to have a terribly handsome man, he just wanted him stronger, so in fact it was the stronger tweeds that seemed to work. But in essence, it's good suits, good, strong English suits that a military man, you know, and a medical man would have worn, with just a hint to Afghanistan.
In the books, he was a soldier, had fought in Afghanistan, and was essentially the brawn to Sherlock's brains.
With that military background in mind, I really wanted him to be in the middle and in fact, sort of on the front line and sometimes tearing in ahead of Holmes, and therefore in allowing Robert to be the slightly more wayward, eccentric, dilettante, you know, which is Holmes.
It just feels kind of real, so I just feel so fortunate. Really making me look good. But that's the thing, is everybody is helping everybody put their best foot forward.
And now, for me, there is no other Holmes. I mean, this Basil Rathbone character is something out of illustration from Punch or what have you. It never existed. For me, this is Holmes, without a doubt.